Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining our group today. My name is Sophie Kerensky and I will be facilitating the group. And we've already established the purpose of this group will be an educational group designed to teach all of you mothers the skills required to reunify with your children. Now we've already also discussed the rules and the group norms that we've established, so I'm going to write the 3 rules that we've all agreed upon, and number 1 would be active listening. And we've established that that means just when another group member is speaking, don't necessarily be thinking about how to respond to that, more so just really being engaged in what they're saying. The second rule we've established is confidentiality. And we've discussed that this means whatever is discussed within this group today does not leave this room. However, I should note that I would need to breach the confidentiality if anyone were to reveal any information that they would be harm to themselves or to others. So that's the second rule. And then the third rule that we've established is just overall respect. And we highlighted that a good way to practice that would be to refrain from interrupting from other mothers when they are sharing their stories. So I would like to just go around the group, and if everyone one by one could just state your name, your age, and the age of your child.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm 21, and my son is going to be 2 at the end of the month.
My name is Grace, and I'm 19, and my child is 18 months old.
I'm Kat, I'm 22, and I have a 3-year-old boy at home.
I'm Kate, and I have a 2-year-old daughter named Caroline.
All right, perfect. So for today's meeting, we're going to be discussing some developmental things that are going on in all of your children's lives. All of you have children within the same developmental stage, so I'm gonna give you guys some information on kind of what's going on developmentally with all of your children. But before we get into that, I know that all of you had recently you all had one-on-one meetings with your child and you were able to see them, so I kind of wanted to go around and just hear how you guys felt about that, what your experience was, maybe some patterns that you noticed in your child's behavior that we could talk about in today's meeting, and then I could maybe give you some information on why that's occurring. So why don't we start with you?
He was just distraught the whole time. He wouldn't stop crying. And then as soon as they told him that he had to leave, he had a whole meltdown and just cried hysterically. It was like so hard to watch him leave because he was just so emotionally distraught for the whole thing. So that was kind of my experience this visitation.
So this last visitation, because my daughter is 18 months, I'm kind of noticing that she's picking up certain things that she didn't before, but this time she was pretty much focused on everything except for me. She was curious about everything and totally not engaged in visiting with me, and it was kind of difficult because we didn't really get to have a connection because I didn't really know how to respond to this new curiosity, and so that was my experience this week.
So my kid would continuously keep asking why to every single thing that I kept telling him, and at first it was I could handle it, but after the continuous asking I got a little frustrated, and I just felt like I didn't have a lot of answers for the things that he was asking me. So just the whole question one after the other was just starting to really get at me, and I didn't know how to handle it after a while.
So Caroline had this problem with arguing with me. Whenever it was time to go and she had to put the toys down and it was time for us to leave, she would be saying, no, she doesn't want to go. She shouldn't have to go. I'm her mom, and that she wants me there. She would argue with me and the facilitator that was there. So we had a big issue with her arguing a lot with almost everybody that was there.
Okay, thank you all so much for sharing your experience with your meeting. And I noticed while you were sharing that there were kind of some underlying themes going on with all of your children, and I kind of wanted to just take a minute to highlight all of those. So the first one that I noticed with your stories was kind of like defiance overall. Another thing that you mentioned was your child now understands the word no and they're not afraid to use it. So that's another thing going on. And another theme that I saw was the curiosity, right? Like the asking questions, always constantly asking why things are occurring and things like that. So now that we've kind of find the underlying themes, I wanted to take a moment, go around once again, and I wanted you guys to all just kind of discuss how you might have reacted to these things that you highlighted in your meeting and what sort of strategies that you came up with to maybe answer your child's questions or work with their defiance.
I feel like I didn't really handle the meeting very well, considering my son was like so emotional and just crying the whole time. Being in prison, I'm not there to console him and be a comfort for him outside of that room, so he didn't find any comfort with me in the room, so that was kind of how I handled it, was more of letting other people do it, I guess.
So with my meeting, my daughter just kind of wouldn't pay attention to me because she was so focused on other things, and that had me really frustrated. So I admit that I kind of reacted pretty forcefully, not to her, but I was clearly very frustrated, trying to convince her to pay attention to me and be there with me and connect with me. So I was kind of more expressing my frustration to the facilitator and to my sister who brought my daughter, and just kind of talked to my sister for a really long time with her behavior outside. But other than that, I was just trying to focus on getting her to pay attention to me, which didn't go very well.
So when my son kept asking me repeatedly why, and just different questions of stuff that is even going on outside in his own life, I felt a little defeated because I didn't have those answers, because we're in two separate places and I only get to visit him every once in a while. So just the constant questions that I couldn't keep up with and that I couldn't answer, I just felt slightly frustrated, a little defeated, and I kind of just gave up towards the end of just answering. So that was really hard.
When Caroline kept arguing whenever it was time to go, I asked her what she thought she was doing. And she told me she was trying to fight for me to stay with her. And when I asked her if she thought it was going to get her anywhere, she told me that no, because any other time she does this, she gets in trouble. So I asked her, when's the next time you're going to see me then? And she told me that she would see me next week. And I told her, then look forward to that. Look forward to the fact that you're going to see me next week, not the fact that you're leaving me now. And she cried a little bit, but she seemed to understand that arguing with everybody that's there isn't going to get her what she wants.
Thank you all so much for sharing, and it sounds like, once again, we've developed some common underlying themes with all of your stories that you've shared. So I've noticed that with the defiance and the overall kind of curiosity that you all noticed in your meetings with your child, it can be very frustrating when you may feel as though you're not equipped with all of the answers to your child's questions, or you don't have a specific way of addressing their specific defiance. So I just wanted to reiterate that you all have children in the same stage of development. And Erickson calls this phase of development the autonomy versus shame and doubt. So basically what you need to know about the stage of development of your child is that they're trying to do two different things. They're trying to initiate their independence, and they're trying to explore the world around them. And so when you become frustrated, that's perfectly understandable, because you may feel as though you're not equipped to have all the answers to their questions. But they aren't, your children aren't trying to, agitate you or frustrate you. The end goal for them in their developmental stage is not to make you frustrated. They're just trying to grasp the world around them. And the best way that they know to do that is to look to you as an important figure in their life and try to find those answers. So all you need to know about the defiance, the curiosity, that's all very, very common and very expected in the stage of development for your child. So if nobody has any questions related to the stage of development, I wanted to point a scenario to you all. So let's say that you are all released and you are now at the grocery store with your child. And your child begins acting somewhat defiant, and you're getting ready to leave the store and they are not complying with you. So I would like to go around the room and see how each of you would individually handle that with your child.
Okay, so what I would do is I would ask my daughter what she's doing, and if she continues to throw a fit, I would pick her up and take her out to the car. We would just leave our groceries there. Someone else will either come get them or we'll come back and get them. I would take her out to the car and I would let her calm down in her car seat. And then once she seems to have settled down, I'll ask her if she's done. If she says no, I'll let her finish crying. If she says yes, that she's done, I'll ask her why she's sitting out in the car and see if she can figure out why she's sitting there. And if she doesn't answer me, I'll tell her that we're sitting out in the car because she threw a fit in the store. Then I'll ask her if that's how we're supposed to act in the store. And if she says yes, then I'll tell her then you don't get to come to the store anymore. If she says no, then I'll ask her if she's going to do it again. If she says no, then we'll go back into the store and try again. But if she throws a fit again, I'll take her back out to the car and we'll go home. And then that'll be the end of that.
What would I do if my kids are? Honestly, I probably would just give in at some point and just give them what they wanted just to make it stop, because I think that would be kind of embarrassing to just let my kid just go off on a tangent. So I would probably just do anything to make the noise and everything calm down. So
honestly, I'd probably smack her on the butt until she gets the point. I mean, you don't act like that in public, and I will not risk being embarrassed by all of those people. She needs to learn that that's not how you behave in public.
Yeah, I don't really know how I would react. I would hope I could just kind of talk to her while we were there, and that they would understand. But I don't know. I don't think that aggression would be the way to get them to cooperate with me at all. That just
maybe if you're
seem,
just not assertive enough or don't know.
Maybe that's just not my style of parenting.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay.
So I think I would be less aggressive about it.
I don't know how a 2-year-old's ever gonna really understand.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jess, for sharing. And I wanted to, just before we continue any further, I wanted to revisit the rules that we've established for our group, which is active listening. And if we all remember, that means not to necessarily prepare an answer for everyone's discussion, but more so just be actively engaged. And also with the respect aspect of the group, I wanted to make sure that everybody has an open space to discuss and we're not interrupting any other's personal stories that we've decided to share. So, do you have anything else to add, Jess?
Thanks.
All right, thank you all so much for sharing. You guys pointed out some great ways to handle such a situation, and I do want to recognize also that this situation that I posed to you, the scenario, can be very frustrating when your child is not compliant with what you want them to do. It can feel like maybe a personal attack on you, and I just wanted to reiterate that once again, you should keep in mind the stage of development that your child is currently in. They're very curious, they want their own independence, they want to know about the world, so that could be the reason they're not being compliant. And we highlighted some great ways to deal with that scenario. And I would like to just keep in mind that for your child in their developmental stage, it's important to, I understand maybe wanting to just give in because of frustration and maybe embarrassment if it's in a public setting, but that has potential to teach your child that that behavior is acceptable and will get them what they want in the future. So it's good to be mindful of that. Also, there have been, studies that have shown that any act of physical aggression towards your child is not going to teach them any sort of compliance. So we do want to make sure that we shy away from that as well. Okay, so if there are no questions about our discussion for today, I'll just go ahead and give you your homework assignment for the next meeting. So I have on these pieces of paper pictures of different activities for all of you to send home with your children, and I would like you to ask your child to circle 3 of the activities that were on your paper, and then have them send back to you 3 activities that they would like to do with you. So that will be your homework for this next class. We'll just give a brief review of what we went through in today's session. So we had the rules redefined, and then we all shared our stories about the meetings that you had with your children, and then we addressed some common themes that we saw in each of your meetings, and then discussed, your feelings about those. And then we went over the stage of development that all of your children are in, and kind of what that looks like in terms of reunification. And then we also, I pointed a scenario to you about your child being defiant in a public setting, and we all discussed ways to combat that. So we will meet next week in this room at this time, and I look forward to hearing how your next meetings went with your children, and I want to thank you all again for attending this group.